There's just a total mindset shift that we've made where boutiques, for example, are no longer competitors, but they're partners. And so those are the kinds of things that if you've had it ingrained in you for a while, it's a mindset shift. And we've been shifting that every day in terms of how we actually approach the world and how we think of the world. We don't have competitors at all. We have only partners. And we are a digital platform that serves the entire wedding ecosystem, not just the dress.
Welcome to Retail Remix, the podcast by Retail Touchpoints, where we explore the trends, technologies, and strategies reshaping the future of retail. I'm your host, Kate Robertson, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Touchpoints. In this episode, I'm joined by Elina Vilk, President and Chief Business Officer of David's Bridal, for a look at one of retail's most fascinating transformations. We dig into Elina's path from tech and marketing giants like Facebook, Hootsuite, and PayPal into bridal retail, how David's Bridal is adapting to a new generation of consumers, and what it really means to move from aisle to algorithm. We also unpack AI-powered commerce, platform strategy, wholesale growth, and the evolving role of stores and what's next for the brand in 2026. Stay tuned, and if you enjoy the conversation, be sure to subscribe to Retail Remix and visit retailtouchpoints.com for more retail insights. Elina, thanks for joining us on Retail Remix.
Thanks for having me.
Your background in marketing at companies like Facebook and Hootsuite and PayPal is so interesting. What made you want to get involved in bridal and specifically David's?
Well, what's interesting is that coming from the media world, the customer and the end user, as we call them in my previous organizations, was the hardest thing to achieve and acquire. When I was first approached by David's, I learned that David's had 90% of all brides coming through their ecosystem. And so it was a really interesting problem to solve because coming from the media world, that's not the problem to solve. And so what that led me to was this amazing conversation with Kelly Cook, the CEO now, and her vision of where she wanted the company to go. And then beyond that, it was really about how do we start to think about these brides in a totally different way, because at that point in time, 90% of the ecosystem, but they're only selling them dresses. And so Pearl was really reborn, I should say. And this concept of moving from this TAM, this market of dresses, all the way to the concept of we can actually go through and look at the whole wedding, because the bride is a super influencer. And she has over 300 tasks in that wedding. And the idea that we can build something so unique and so special and so ownable and solve a real problem in the industry. It's a tech problem. It's a platform problem. So it's actually not as different as you might think coming into a David's when you think about it that way. But it gave me this really exciting opportunity to build and this really exciting opportunity to transform a 75-year-old brand into something really, really fresh.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Retail Touchpoints has been closely following David's pretty remarkable transformation. How has bridal and the market shifted in recent years?
Bridal has shifted quite a bit. It's continuing to shift with the economy. I could talk a little bit about K-shaped economy and what's happening there too. But in general, social media was the biggest shift in bridal other than COVID. And so if you think about, and I got married 16 plus years ago, my photo album was very curated by me. I look stunning in my photos. I mean, I picked it. We maybe photoshopped a couple of things in there. And then I show people my photo album or my slideshow on our wedding anniversary, and it's perfection, right? Brides today do not have that luxury. You go in, and here's the thing, even if you're not an influencer, when you're a bride, you are in fact an influencer, because you walk down the aisle, what do people do? They take out their phones and you will get photos of you at every angle, at every seat. One of the things I even tell brides is make sure you sit in different places around your venue to see what the angles look like as you're walking down the aisle. And that's the least of it. I mean, you're going to get your mouth open. You're going to have different photos throughout the occasion. That's just the end state. That's the final wedding day. You have 300, like I mentioned, 300 plus touch points before that, which many of them have this new pressure of visibility. And so now even the proposals are getting these huge Instagram, there's pressure for the grooms too. And in terms of, okay, I'm going to have these floral bouquets and I'm going to have fireworks and all these things are happening in these huge proposals, right? That are on Instagram, your cake tastings on Instagram, your curated experiences are, there's a massive amount of pressure for brides, massive amount of stress, all culminating in that one day where even if you have 100 guests, you'll have as many as 1 million plus people see your photos that day. So you become a super influencer, and the pressure of that mentally is very, very different than what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I got married 2 years ago, and our photographer advised us to ask people not to take out their cameras or their phones, but it was because he didn't want to have all of these cameras in the background of all of our photos. But I remember that pressure very well. When it comes to how the team at David's has had to shift its mindset as you've been going through this transformation, have you had like a North Star or mandates that you're really trying to make sure everyone's thinking about as they implement all these new initiatives?
Yeah, I mean, the shift is real. And so in terms of the mindset itself, and especially for those folks who have been here a long time, the focus has really been on we make the dress, we sell the dress in our stores and on our website. And it's our owned properties, and here we are. We are completely transforming that mindset. I mean, we went from selling our own dresses to we are the biggest manufacturer and producer of dresses in the world, right? So when we think about that, well, why can't we pass off wholesale to others? Why can't we then become producing for other brands? Why can't we then start selling in other surfaces? We're selling on Amazon. We're selling in other areas. Why can't we start to think about selling inside of other stores? Why can't we have casual bridal? Because we're seeing a ton of courthouse weddings pop up everywhere. Backyard weddings are actually one of our top search terms right now. And so there's just a total mindset shift that we've made where boutiques, for example, are no longer competitors, but they're partners. And so those are the kinds of things that if you've had it ingrained in you for a while, it's a mindset shift. And we've been shifting that every day in terms of how we actually approach the world and how we think of the world. We don't have competitors at all. We have only partners. And we are a digital platform that serves the entire wedding ecosystem, not just the dress. And so shifting that, it's not an overnight thing, but it is something that we are working hard towards and building that North Star with everyone. And I think aisle to algorithm, that's what we call our strategy, is really the thing that is driving that. And I think most, not all of our employees at this point should be very well aware and very much in tune with it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You mentioned how you're becoming, increasingly a platform. Do you still think of yourselves as a retailer primarily? How does that reflect in the workforce?
We're a retailer, but we're so much more than that. We serve the bride and beyond, and the bridal party and the guests and everyone that's there. So when we think about who we serve, that it's really expanded in terms of the definition. We think about the broader ecosystem that we're providing. We think about our responsibility. We sell like 30% of the dresses out there. That's a big responsibility in terms of thinking through that experience. And we also are embedding AI across our entire business. And so building out that platform and building out those insights, we built out Pro AI, for example, which can plan your whole wedding for you in 5 minutes if you choose it to. We have in there embedded AI experiences. We modeled it after, we call our stylists dream makers. They're still the heart and soul of our business, to be clear. Those folks that are in the store, it's a very intimate experience when you get into a dress. I'm sure you remember being married only a couple of years ago. You get into that dressing room and you are intimate in that. It's an intimate experience to try on a wedding dress. But they are also your therapists in that room. There could be a whole crowd out there that's judging you, that you may not want their opinions. There's things that are happening out there. And that we've had stylists and dream makers for 30 plus years working for us. And so while some things require a mindset shift, there's other areas where we're learning from them And that's informing, ironically, the AI that we build, right? And so it's an interesting symbiotic thing because having a 75-year-old company can actually be an advantage in technology. We modeled our AI, we called it's a knowledge graph essentially, and it's built around this concept of all the knowledge that our dream makers have around what are the stresses of a bride? What are the things she's really going through? What is the tone we need to have when having that conversation? Those are not things you can pick up in technology. Those are things you really need to interview, really need to understand and have that empathy built in to the knowledge graph. These are not facts that you pull out of a book. There's a gentleness to it. There's an art to it that needed to happen.
That's so interesting about like how the AI is learning from those people who have been doing the work for so long. Do you have an example of how that's come to life?
Yeah. Well, for example, when we built the knowledge graph in AI is basically when you take multiple language learning models and you're building a personality type or a knowledge center. So the knowledge graph that we have is all about weddings. And so when we think about that, how the AI responds to the bride as she's planning her wedding when she has a question, down to the way that the response is trained based on actual dream makers. There's a lot of ways you can answer a question, even the tonality of a question. And so in thinking through that, we really did think about what is the tone of that? Who do we want to be? And the answer was obvious. We want to be our dream makers. We want to be those primarily women on the ground who have real deep knowledge of the industry. They don't just know about dresses. They know about dresses very, very, very well, probably best in the industry. Beyond the dress, they know about the wedding. They know about the dynamics that happen in a wedding, and they know about all the vendors that are in your local area. They are often, when the bride's in that room with the dream maker, they're often seeking advice among a lot of things because they've seen it all. And so really building up that knowledge base from them, having them validate what we're building throughout the process, that's been the key.
And I'm assuming you're not planning to eventually replace those valuable employees, but it just seems like a natural question to ask, like, how do you sort of reassure that workforce that, this is in tandem with what they're doing?
Yeah. And this doesn't touch what they're doing. It doesn't even replace wedding planners. So like I always say this, the AI will not go to your mother-in-law and tell her that she can't invite those 20 extra people. Do you know what I mean? And so the point of this whole thing was to create a tonality that worked and remove stress off her plate, because what happens is, and I'm sure you went through this, and I don't know, how big was your wedding?
We had about 100 people. It was not huge. Yeah.
Still, it's a lot. I mean, I'm sure you had. How long did you spend planning?
Like 9 months. Not too bad. We tried to keep it streamlined, but it was stressful for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So the stats that I give off are like this. The average wedding planning cycle is around 18 months, but it can be as short as 2 months. It could be a backyard wedding, or it could be as long as 3+ years, right? And the average is 18 months. What's interesting is the excitement build up to the engagement. You're really excited on the day you get engaged. That excitement's about 24 hours if you're lucky. You wake up in the morning and just sort of like whoosh, hits you. And you are in a state of stress. Most people have not had to plan an event of this scale or have this kind of pressure ever to this point in their life. And so all of a sudden, you don't know where to start. You don't know where to even, you start, Googling things, talking to people, this is meant to give you a step-by-step guide of where to start. Like, here's where I start. Here's where I go from here. The other thing is there's a lot of things in your head that you don't think about that are, when I started looking into this, I'm like, well, let's look at wedding checklists. What's on wedding checklists? Most wedding checklists have like 20 or 30 things on the checklist. That's not what I saw. When you plan a wedding, there's many micro tasks that are not in a planner's mind or not in things that a planner will necessarily do. Maybe some planners do. Majority will focus on the big things, like the big event, the floral, the big venue type things. An example I always give is when you plan your engagement photo shoot, that might be one task. It's not one task. It's not one task. So you have to pick your photographer. 1, pick where you're shooting. 2, what are you wearing? 3, what's he wearing? 4, what are my shot list? What kind of shot inspiration? Like, what do I want to look like? My makeup, am I getting my hair done? Am I getting my teeth whitened? Do I want to show off my ring? Not show off my ring? Should I get my ring clean before this thing? Like, do I want to include family in it? Should my dog be part of it? Is there a dog outfit? Should I have a balloon? Like, these are the actual things that run in a girl's mind before. This is one simple, relatively simple checklist item on a wedding checklist. 99% of these things are in your head. You're sitting there in your head and then you wonder, why am I stressed? That's right. You're stressed. You're walking around with, I call these physical thought bubbles over your head. Like you're carrying them like heavy, heavy, heavy backpacks over your head. And that's what happens throughout the entire journey. So the idea was to codify it. And then you can add things. Maybe we don't have those things. You can add those things into the list and the AI can help you. Is there anything else I should be thinking about? What are other people doing? Should I change the task? Should I change my whole wedding date? Like these things can all be done through AI now.
That's so cool. I wish I'd done that. In addition to Pearl Planner, you've also been working with Shopify and ChatGPT to update the shopping experience. What can you tell us about that?
So what's interesting is ChatGPT, Claude, lots of these other LLMs are all, search is changing. And so we're entering this era of questions and answers in search. And in particular, bridal is a very high, and even when you buy your dress or pick your venue, that's a very high involvement purchase. And so high involvement purchases, we all know this from marketing or retail, typically have a much higher inspiration cycle and a much higher research cycle. And so now with AI, research is at your fingertips and you're able to research based on recommendations, based on questions and answers rather than your end keywords. And like I said before, oftentimes when brides are on that journey, they don't even know what the keywords are yet, but they know the questions that they have. Where do I start? How do I think about this? What are the best venues for spring? Or what if I wanted a Halloween wedding? What are the types of things I should consider? Those are some of the things that we can now do with the LLMs. And we're seeing search go up and up and up every day. When we integrated with Shopify last year, Shopify has this ability to quickly get us onto ChatGPT and be commerciable right away. And so we were one of the first few brands that took them up on it and literally flipped on the switch. And now we actually have commerce available on ChatGPT.
And what's the uptake like? Are you seeing?
It's very recent,
Okay.
But week over week trends have been kind of crazy. I mean, hundreds of percentage points every week. We're seeing a rise in it. So it's definitely picking up. It's definitely not Google yet. It's definitely not, the majority of traffic, but I would say the growth rate is nothing like I've seen in a very long time.
And you've also expanded into wholesale. Tell us more about how those partnerships really help David's in a different way than your direct retail does.
I think wholesale is one of our greatest opportunities. We have 40 plus design centers and factories all over the world. Last year, when called the tariff wars, in retail, and everybody everyone in the tariffs in some places were 15 plus percentage points. Our net tariff impact was less than 4 because we were able to move things around very, very quickly. And what we saw in that is that we can actually help others with our production strength. And so the idea is we're only in 193 locations. There are over 7,000 plus bridal markets. These are not our competitors. In particular, if we go more on the high end side and we acquire the license for Vera Wang Bride. And so now with that and with some of other brands, we have this opportunity to wholesale in, and we're going to be introducing our brands, but also not our brands coming soon. And so partner brands that have asked us to do the same thing for them, market entry, expansion, et cetera, on wholesale. So you'll be seeing that more from us as well. And I just think that's a huge power that we have in terms of scale. And we can definitely help boutiques and larger scale enterprise stores with pricing, with fit. I mean, our sizes go up to size 30, 0 to 30. We launched our fit guarantee campaign today because we have this fit model tech. Again, we've dressed so many women, so many different sizes. We understand fit really, really well. And so those are the kinds of things that, why don't we scale that? Why don't we scale that up? Why don't we take the benefit of our production and scale and really move that through the industry and provide that service to everyone else and hopefully bring bridal prices down.
As you have implemented all of these initiatives in this transformation, what has that taught you about what brick and mortar stores are still uniquely good at?
There is nothing from a brand perspective. We call them brand anchors. There's nothing that anchors you more in terms of your brand than having a footprint. We In addition to everything I've just talked about, we want to expand our footprint. We want to do it differently in a much smaller way, in a different kind of way. We want to do it in partnership with other stores. I'd love to see a David's footprint inside of other boutiques. I'd love to see a David's footprint inside of large retailers. But beyond that, I think it's really important for consumers to see you out there in the wild.
And what's next for David's, and how are you hoping 2026 will play out?
The David's future is expanding to become the everything, one touch, one click wedding. It will remove stress from all bridal if we do our job right. It will create these embedded experiences that will enable truly for the bride to focus on what she wants to do, which is the marriage part, the design part, not the stress part. We launched budgeting tools. We launched all these things, and we have a stress meter. We base it based on like, what are the things that stress people out the most? Here are the things that stress people out the most. Number one is budget. We launched a budgeting tool, Pro AI. Number two is collaboration with your bridal party. It's very stressful to figure out and get, how easy is it for 5 women to agree on the one thing that they're wearing? So, right? So I'll go ahead and try that. I mean, I don't know if did you have bridesmaids?
No,
in your
no, I did not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why a lot of them are doing okay, just take this color. I don't want to deal with you. Family is a real thing, and there's a lot of pressure. Seating charts are a real thing. So we're going to continue to knock all these things down. And we see us evolving past weddings. We think we can get into baby. We think we can get into life planning and life's moments beyond that, because we have a very healthy business for special occasion. We have a healthy business in prom. And beyond that. So I just think that it's kind of blue sky for us at this point. We want to get this right, and we want to get this right for everyone. And the grooms too, actually, not just the brides.
Thanks so much for joining us on Retail Remix, Elina.
Thanks so much for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Retail Remix. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or your favorite podcast app. See you next time.